One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. The date today is the 7th of August, 2009. It is 8 p.m. BST. It is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In other times, it's other places. In other places, probably other times as well. One way or the other, we don't really care. It's Blue Please on WoW Radio, and we have a show for you today. Yes, we do. What are we going to be talking about? Well, I can tell you, it's quite a skill, really. Something you acquire over the years, as you will find if you ever get into podcasting. You acquire the ability to tell people in advance what exactly you're going to be talking about on the show. Now, of course, that involves actually preparing the show, as opposed to simply waffling on about nothing at all. Maybe having a bit of a show structure, writing down some notes, something like that. I don't know, it sounds a bit too old media for me. Oh, with the new media, we can throw all the rules out the window and just, hey, I'll tell you what I'll do. Being new media and having absolutely no respect for old media, the principles of good radio. I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes and do this. Yeah. How about I don't do that? How about we do a proper show, eh? Seriously, I tell you, this silliness that I see on the internet these days from blinking new media types, I swear, people make me sick sometimes. So, let me tell you a little bit of a story. So, I was browsing around buff.net, as I generally do, encouraging people to buff the stories they like. Because that's what you're supposed to do. You log onto the site, you find a story you like, you buff it, or if it's not there, you submit it, and other people buff it. So, it's a really good resource. Been getting a lot of really good news articles from there lately, particularly, actually, since I'm someone who's not into blogs. I've been reading a lot more WoW blogs as a direct result of buff.net, because of course the good stories get on the front page, so I can go and read them. That's really handy. I like that. So I've read a number of things. What I've also discovered is a couple of other WoW podcasts. Now, my disdain for most WoW podcasts is well documented. And some people, of course, would mistake that for some kind of crazy elitism, or maybe I'm jealous of these podcasts that get like 250 listeners as opposed to my 50,000. I don't know. Maybe I'm just backwards like that. But no. What it comes down to is the fact that me being a radio host, I do internet radio, and I have done terrestrial radio and hope to do terrestrial radio again in the future. My chosen career path. So, when I hear it's like, we're doing a podcast, it's a horrible word to begin with. It makes your skin crawl. And as much as I love Mr. Leo Laporte, his idea of netcast wasn't much better. Why can't we just call it a show? That's what it is. I know why we can't call it a show, because show has all these horrible connotations to it. Like, you gotta do work, and you gotta get a good mic, and you gotta get a structure and do your research. Oh, it's too hard. That's why we don't call it a show, we call it a podcast. Because, hey, there's no strings attached to podcast. All podcast is shove it on iTunes. It doesn't matter what's on it. Just some guy in front of a microphone waffling for half an hour with no music bed, a bunch of, noise in the background. Ums and ahs and half a pound of halfpenny rice every 5 seconds. No, we don't have to do anything for a podcast. It's new media. It's a nice blank page. There's no rules. And I don't like that. Because, to me, it's pulling down my chosen art form, yeah? And to most people, they know me as someone who does a podcast. But podcast, as a result of these idiots, has a negative connotation. Podcast, it doesn't equate with radio show. Radio show has a certain prestige. You have a certain expectation of what you're going to hear on a radio show. But when you hear on a podcast, well, just listen to your average podcast. Just go on. Pick a random podcast. I'm not talking about the ones that are all the way at the top, the really good quality ones. Just go on and say new and notable in video games. Pick a random podcast, listen to it. I guarantee you, 90% of the time, it's going to be some guy in front of a mic waffling on for no apparent reason whatsoever. this whole stream of consciousness verbal diarrhea rubbish just doesn't work. And WoW podcasts are no exception. A bunch of WoW podcasts aren't very good. And that's the problem, because they don't adhere to all these principles. And you might think that I'm elitist. You might think that I'm arrogant. Yeah, you know what? I'm a bit arrogant. You know why I'm a bit arrogant? Because I've got, like, all of this freaking experience. And these great staff backing me up. And a pretty decent website. Good systems. Loads of years of experience. Decent equipment. Yeah, of course I'm a little bit arrogant. Why wouldn't I be? In the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. For God's sake, compare any host on this station to your average podcaster. The difference is huge. It's horrendous. Anyway, the story that I was getting to. So, there's this random podcast. I'm not going to mention names. I see no need to. You'll be able to find it on buff.net. They're just awful. I'm sorry. We had, like, one guy on this podcast who was raiding while they did a show. I mean, what the hell are you playing at? Raiding while you do a show? Like, clicking away and shouting and everything? It's like, how the hell can you possibly focus on delivering good content if you're going to be playing games while you do your show? Are you kidding? Yes, the temptation for me has come along to play games while doing the show. Hey, I've got various games to play this weekend, but you know what? I'm not going to do that because my concern is putting out a decent show. Is that such a bad thing? No, it isn't. Of course it's not. Why would it be? Anyway, just something I had to get off my chest, and I'm sure you'll see much, much more of this foolishness as things go along. I'm proud to not only be a member of WoW Radio, but have so many great hosts with me to give you great shows. That's all we're here for. That's why we're here. That's why we're going to BlizzCon. To give you all of these wonderful things that other organizations and even DirecTV are not going to be able to provide for you. Because we think you're great. We like our audience very much. And hopefully you like what we do too. So yeah, just a bit of an aside. Now, if you want to get involved in the IRC channel and you are listening live, which you certainly should be, this show airs live every Friday at 8 PM BST. That's 3 PM Eastern on our website, wcradio.com. The IRC channel is irc.mmlirc.com #WOW Radio. Alternatively, you can click the chat button at the top of the screen on wcradio.com. Sounds like a solid idea to me. I think it's a plan that could very well be implemented. Now, the question is, what is coming up on the show today? Well, I can tell you. So, we're going to talk a little bit about Blizzard's history of 180s a little bit later on in the show. As in, when they've had a policy or a design philosophy or something that's basically been set in stone, it's like, we believe this because of this. And then later on, actually, we don't believe that anymore, and we're doing a complete flip on it. You'd be surprised how many times it's actually happened, because there has been a recent one, and you'll find out about that a little bit later on in the show. Also, the most ridiculous thing I've heard on the forums in a very long time. Apparently, according to some genius on the general WoW forums, Ulduar has no progressive difficulty curve whatsoever. No, I kid you not. This guy thinks that every boss in Ulduar is exactly the same difficulty. We talk about bizarre perceptions and how time seems to rot the brain of the raider these days. We'll also be analysing whether or not Ulduar was well structured in terms of a progression and difficulty curve. See if it's maybe a model for the future. Compare it to some of the other instances in the past and see what's going on. Also, a little bit interactivity today. Your thoughts on 3.2. We'll do an entire section later on in the show. Give you the chance to email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Your thoughts on patch 3.2, any aspect of it, I don't care, positive, negative. I'll pick the best ones as the show goes along. I'll read them, I'll discuss them, and it'll all be great. So yeah, it's kind of like an extended mailbag. And I suppose that may sound like a cop-out to some people, but you'd be surprised how much people really love having their mail read and having their mail discussed. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't played patch 3.2, and you know exactly why. The reason I haven't played patch 3.2 is that I'm totally burned out on 25-man raiding, and my interest is getting back into the game and forming a small 10-man guild. Yeah? And that's going to involve certain people who are going to have to faction transfer. So if the faction transfer system isn't up, then hey, not an awful lot I can do about that. So yeah, you can expect me back in the game shortly. We'll see what happens. But by the sounds of it, I'm not really missing all that much. Maybe you can tell me. Email themurloc@gmail.com. Now, before I do the mailbag for this week, and we're rapidly running out of time in this first particular introductory segment, as we like to call it, I was going to do an entire section on this, but I decided not to, and the reason is that I wouldn't want to be doing an entire section on something which could potentially be false. However, I would like to touch upon it. Now, an article was posted earlier this week on stratfood.com with a screenshot, supposedly from a forum member of Exodus's hacked account. Somebody hacked one of the forum members of Exodus and posted a screenshot of a nefarious plan. Now, again, I'm going to disclaim this by saying this is possibly photoshopped. It may or may not be true, and we'll see whether or not it happens. Indeed, I would hope that if it is true, perhaps that the guild in question, that of course being Exodus, yes, we know Exodus from such movies as We Hacked, cried about it, and got banned, and then claimed that we were the best. Actually, that was actually the only movie we know them from. Yes, they shot to fame on the basis of them being terrible cheaters. Well done! Congratulations. So, this post read along the lines of, guys, this is what we're going to do. We are going to clear the content on this server, then we are going to go to another server. We're going to transfer the entire raiding core to another server, and we're going to get the Death's Demise title, yeah, which is the Realm First Yogg-Saron plus 0. Now, amusingly enough, they haven't managed to actually kill Yogg-Saron plus 0 yet, and 14 other guilds, according to Guild Progress, have got ahead of them, so evidently it seems they spent a little too much time posting American flags on their front page, and not enough time actually learning the fight. Shame for them. So, I would assume, because of the cheating and the ban, that they can no longer get the Realm First. Indeed, the Realm First may have already been triggered, and it might not be possible to reset it. So Ysondra, the realm that they are on, I assume they can't get the Realm First there. So, they're going to go to some other unsuspecting server, get the Realm First there, and then transfer back. All of this within the course of 3 days. Now, why? Why can they do that? I'll tell you why they can do that, because Blizzard made a really stupid mistake. It's like, yes, let's reduce the transfer cooldown to 3 days. 3 days? Are you serious? Oh, and here's the best part. You know what? Transferring off the server resets your raid cooldowns. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. You can do the same raid twice in 1 week if you transfer your raiding core. Now, of course, most people would think, well, no one is sad, pathetic, and completely Spurgeon enough to do this. Absolutely not. We didn't count on Exodus, did we? No, we didn't factor that into the equation. This is the guild that was willing to do something so mind-bogglingly dumb. Yes, I actually said it. I went that far. That's probably the first time I've ever used that word on the air, but God, it makes my blood boil. So mind-bogglingly dumb. And thinking they could possibly get away with it in exploiting Yogg plus 0. You've gotta be kidding. Absolutely not. That guild was stupid enough, so they're stupid enough to do anything, right? Including spending 1.2 grand. Yes, $1,250 to transfer their entire raiding core from one server to another, then transfer them back 3 days later! Are you out of your minds? And some people might view this, well, oh, it's not cheating, it's exactly the same as... Would it be exactly the same as? Well, it's exactly the same as the old thing with the AQ-40. Yeah. The whole black mount thing. I can't remember the damn name of it. It had a title associated with it, and you got a black Karaji war mount. And that was a once per realm thing. And yes, guilds did transfer to realms where it wasn't open and take that. Did I view that as a good thing? No. I didn't view that as a good thing either. But to be honest, I find this to be even worse. Absolutely disgraceful. And some people may argue that, it's not cheating, blah, blah, blah. So, well, did you support the whole moving over to get the bug mount? I certainly hope not. And even then, by that point, by the time this was actually happening, it was getting a little bit, out of date. This was happening all the way through TBC, for instance. It was out of date, so people were transferring to do that. But Death's Demise, the Realm First Yogg plus 0, that's very current. That's an achievement that every realm deserves to earn legitimately. And not have some idiots transfer over, grab it, and then make a run for it. At the moment, from what I can see, let's see, so we've got 15 guilds that have done this, right? And are they all on different servers? McTheridan, Lightning's Blade, Senjin, Sylvanas, Aquin, Silvermoon, Mugthul, Najatar, Turulin, Kil'jaeden, some Russian thing, Mal'Ganis, Korgath, Alterac Mountains, and Blood Furnace. Yes, all different servers, but imagine what would happen a little bit later on when some guy from those servers says, oh, we couldn't get the title on our server, so let's go and steal it from another server. You might not call that cheating per se, but I'll tell you this, as far as I'm concerned, cheating is a circumvention of the usual rules with the view of actually creating foul play. Doing something that is unsportsmanlike, and getting something that they do not legitimately deserve. It's like, you lost your chance, Exodus, because you cheated, and that makes you terrible. In every possible respect. I don't care how good a guild you were in the first place. I don't care that you're world 17th. Wow, world 17th, so impressive. I don't care, because you're cheaters. So who cares what you have to say? At all. As far as I'm concerned, they should be stopped from doing this, and the decision to get a 3-day transfer is absolutely stupid. A fool and his money are soon parted. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. No, we don't have time for the mailbag. I don't care. It's fine. You know what? You can wait until later. I'm going to play a little bit of a Louveté. It's Grey Sublime Archon. I'll be right back after this to tell you a little bit about Blizzard's history of 180s. Enjoy.